For gosh, thousands of years, we've been trying to crack this one code. How do you live a good life? I mean, philosophers, psychologists, prophets, they've all taken a shot at it. Today, we're going to look at their blueprints for sure, but we're also going to introduce a new one, an ancient geometry of well-being that might just be more complete than anything we've come up with in the West. Okay, let's dive in.
So let's start right there. What does it actually mean to live well? Really think about it. Is it happiness? Success? Is it being a good person? Finding meaning? This isn't just some abstract question you ponder over coffee. The answer you land on becomes the literal operating system for your entire life. It shapes your goals, your values, and yeah, ultimately, your destiny.
Now, historically, the West has really given us two massive answers. First, you've got the ancient Greeks and their idea of eudaimonia. Now, this isn't about just feeling happy. It's about being good. It's a life built on virtue, reason, and just striving for personal excellence. Then, you fast forward about 2,000 years and modern psychology gives us flourishing. You might have heard of it as PERMA, right? That stands for positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. You can see it's a bit broader than eudaimonia. I mean, these are powerful ideas that have absolutely shaped our modern world.
But what if those answers, as powerful as they are still incomplete? What if there's another way to look at this whole thing? A perspective from way outside the Western tradition that sees the problem from a totally different angle. Well, that brings us to an incredible indigenous concept from the Ambala Aita people of the Philippines. It's called Kahampatan. And the core idea here is it's just revolutionary. Kahamtam doesn't define a good life through what you achieve or how you feel inside. It defines it through relational harmony. It's all about the quality of your connections to the Creator, to yourself, to your community, and, this is the critical part, to nature. This isn't just like a nice little bonus feature. It's the entire foundation of well-being. And this quote just perfectly illustrates the point. I mean, think about the first-order effect of this belief. If land is the lifeblood of a good life, you don't treat it like some resource you can just exploit. You treat it like a family member with respect. This one idea completely changes a culture's entire relationship with the environment. So this idea of relational harmony, it's not just a single idea. It's a whole system built on four essential pillars. A good life is one where your relationship with the spiritual, your own inner world, your social bonds, and the entire ecosystem are all in balance. It's like a four-dimensional model, a complete geometry for living a good life. So the question is, how does this model actually stack up against the best ideas the West has to offer?
To figure that out, we're not just going to talk philosophy. No, we're going to run a stress test. We're actually going to score these concepts quantitatively to see where the strengths are, and maybe more importantly, where the weaknesses are hiding.
The source material for this explainer came up with a really fascinating way to do this, a 25-dimensional rubric that covers a huge spectrum of human experience. We're talking everything from internal stuff like happiness and purpose to external factors like physical health, social bonds, cultural identity, and yep, of course, harmony with nature. This tool lets us literally map out each philosophy and see what's missing. All right, so first up is Aristotle's eudaimonia. It scores a pretty respectable 6.8 out of 10. And look, to be clear, that is not a bad score. It's fantastic in the areas you'd expect. It gets top marks for things like virtue, reason, purpose. It's a really powerful framework for individual excellence. But that 6.8 also tells us that almost a third of what makes up a truly holistic good life is just missing from the blueprint. Next up, modern psychology's flourishing, and right away you see a big jump to 8.1. This model fills in some of Aristotle's major gaps, right? It recognizes how important positive emotions are and strong relationships and even a spiritual connection. It's definitely a more emotionally and socially aware framework, a clear step forward. But still, that score tells us there are crucial pieces missing from the puzzle.
And that brings us to Kahampatan. It scores a perfect 10.0. Now listen, this is the most important point of this entire analysis. It scores a 10 by definition. Why? Because this indigenous philosophy was so complete, so in tune with every single facet of well-being, that its components were actually used to create the 25-point rubric in the first place. So the Western models aren't being judged against some random standard. They're being judged against the holistic wisdom of the Ayeta people.
So, where exactly do these powerful Western ideas fall short? Well, the data lets us diagnose the specific philosophical blind spots, and these have profound, real-world consequences.
Just look at this. I mean, this is the smoking gun, right here. On the dimension of nature harmony, eudaimonia scores a dismal 2 out of 10. It is almost completely blind to the ecological part of well-being. Flourishing does better, sure, it gets a 7, but it's still not foundational. And the second-order effect of this is catastrophic. A society built on a philosophy that ignores nature will inevitably create an ecological crisis. And the gaps don't stop there. In their hunt for these universal principles, the Western models kind of create a blueprint for a person who exists in a vacuum. They're unmoored from their culture, from history, from a deep spiritual story. It's like building a beautiful house with no foundation in the earth.
So here is the crucial point. This relentless focus on the individual, on personal virtue, personal achievement, personal happiness, that's the critical flaw. The first-order effect might be individual success, sure, but the second-order effect is the slow erosion of the community and the ecology that the individual depends on. And the third-order effect? The individual's well-being eventually collapses because their entire support system has been dismantled.
This diagnosis leads to a really fascinating counterfactual. What if we could actually re-engineer the very words we use for success to be more holistic? What if we built our concepts of achievement on a foundation of relational harmony from the start?
This is where the analysis gets really creative and fun. The researchers ran a thought experiment. They made up a word, dalub-methine, which basically means individual proficient aspiration. On the rubric, it scores a 6.4, pretty similar to eudaimonia. But then, they took the Filipino concept of kapwa, which means like a shared self or community, and they added it to the word, creating kapwa dalubyabong, or proficient thriving together. Just look at that score. It jumps to an 8.4. This just brilliantly shows that simply embedding a relational component into our language makes the concept itself more powerful for a good life.
So this entire analysis, it's not just some abstract exercise. It has really profound implications for how each and every one of us can think about and actually construct our own version of a good life.
Because in the end, after all the charts and scores and analysis, it comes back to this simple, profound wisdom from an Aita elder. Ang kababatan ay magandang relasyon sa pamilya at sa kapwa-tao. For those who don't speak Tagalog, that translates to kababatan is good relationships with family and with one's fellow human beings. It really is that simple. It's all about connection.
And that's the ultimate takeaway here. The conceptual blueprint you use for well-being, it matters. It matters immensely. It's the silent architect of your actions, your culture, your world. If you choose a limited blueprint, you are pretty much guaranteed a limited life. But if you choose a holistic one, you open up the possibility of a life that is truly and completely good. So I'll leave you with this to reflect on. If your life is this complex, 25-dimensional geometry, which of those dimensions have you been neglecting? Is it your happiness, your purpose, your connection to nature, or your bond with your community? The path to a better life? Well, it starts with seeing the whole picture.